Hi, everybody. It's Georgia Rose, and I'm in the soul space. My favorite place to be, especially on this beautiful Monday night with you guys. So I hope everybody had a great 4th of July weekend. The energy was really nice. No fireworks except the ones in the sky, so that was pretty good. Just want to take a moment to send beautiful, good vibrations out to Texas and anyone and their families affected by that horrific flooding that we had in the state. Really, really a sad time. We were talking about it at work this afternoon, and I have to say some of us were tearing up a little bit. That's such a tragedy. But let's just send our compassion there, and hopefully there is something that will come out of that tragedy that will bring some good somewhere in the world, even though it's hard to envision that now. So tonight we're going to talk a little more about Uranus moving into Gemini. Definitely forward momentum, guys. We'll talk about that. We also have a full moon coming up on Thursday. And I had an unboxing this weekend that was absolutely fabulous. What did I unbox? Well, I unboxed me. Yes, little old me. So I'm just going to share the show like you guys know. If you want to share the show, that would be great too. I'm just going to turn the show on my little monitor here so that I can see my comments. If you want to share the show, you think someone can benefit from what we talk about in the soul space, that would be great. If not, you want to keep me private, that's great too. Whatever floats your boat. So welcome everyone. Give you guys a few minutes to pile in. I know that's always takes a little time. So Uranus and Gemini, I didn't know what to expect because for me in my chart, we talk about astrology a lot on this show, but we're not just going to talk about astrology tonight. We're going to talk about everything. So if you're tuning in for the first time, don't worry if you're not really an astrology follower. So I didn't know what it was going to do in my chart because it stayed in the same house. It's in my 6th house, which is my, work life and all kinds of things like that. And so sometimes we don't, know how it's going to affect us. So I've been really thinking about this a lot and did not know what to expect. And I thought, I hope it doesn't shake things up. Because Uranus is the planet of awakenings and shocking things, and a lot of times that's not always a good thing. So it kind of made me a little nervous. And then all of a sudden, Sunday night, I had this amazing epiphany about the fact that I do this, and I also have what I know is what I call my earthbound life, where I'm a realtor, and I'm really in the corporate world, kind of, sort of, and what we can call the corporate world these days, I'm not really sure. So all of a sudden, it was like the last 7 years with Uranus and Taurus, where I was cloudy and foggy and didn't really know exactly how to proceed with my own profession, both of them. This one, beautiful Zenkuda, is my spiritual place, and also my beautiful, rewarding life of real estate. Didn't know how to merge them and proceed. I kind of knew, but I couldn't really put my finger on it. It was almost like this thing that just was out of reach all the time. I just couldn't grab it, which is unusual for me. Those of you who know me personally know I'm a builder. I like to build business. I'm entrepreneurial. I like to do that. I like to create something out of very little, which is a Taurus thing. We use our own resources. But for the last 7 years, I've just been missing the mark a little bit on some things. Taurus is an energy that is fixed and stubborn and steady. It's the bull. So I guess I've been trying to move the bull for 7 years, or maybe come out of the bull. I don't know, but we'll see how that works out. But all of a sudden, last night, as literally the planet Uranus went into Gemini, all of a sudden, my profession, my daily routine, and my work life was like someone just completely and totally reorganized it and refreshed it. And Gemini is an air sign, so we went from earth to air. And boy, did I feel a shift. I woke up last night. Actually, I was just falling asleep. It was like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And all of a sudden, I woke up and I started doing this big post on my real estate pages where I opened up and told everyone about this stuff, which I don't usually do. I usually keep everything really separate and really categorized, compartmentalized, right? I'm a pro at that. I used to have a partner who said to me, you sleep through anything like death, divorce, catastrophe. You just fall asleep and go to sleep at night. And I said, well, it's not that I lack a conscience. It's just that I put everything in a box and close the lid and then I'll open the box again tomorrow. Kind of like Scarlett O'Hara when she was in the garden in the movie, and she was when in Gone with the Wind, when she was in the garden and digging up a radish, and that was the only food she had, and it was during the Civil War, and she said, I will survive. I mustn't think about this today. I'll think about it tomorrow. And so that's compartmentalizing things. How many of us do that to get by and get through, right? So I would have told you a few years ago that compartmentalizing and that beautiful ability I had to put things in their respective boxes and live a well-ordered life was a superpower, a superhuman strength. And all of a sudden I realized that's what's been wrong the last 7 years. Damn, if I didn't figure it out sooner, it would have been so much better. But I'll take divine intervention as it comes and divine timing because it always knows so much more than I do. So last night I had this just awareness. And I was like, well, maybe you're feeling heavy or you're feeling disorganized because you are trying to put everything in a box. And you're trying to put like the round stuff in a square box and the square stuff in a round box. And Georgia, you're Sagittarius rising. You're not supposed to have boxes. Anyone who knows Sag risings, you know, or somebody with a very Sagittarian chart, which I have, 9th house Pluto here, we do not like restriction at all. At all. And so I was restricting myself all these years by putting things in their respective categories and boxes and where it goes on the shelf and line it up right and fix the labels facing forward. And it wasn't OCD. It was a self-defense mechanism to create order. Not in an OCD way, just in a way that it helped me do more and actually enlarged and helped me embrace my potential in many ways. Like I always say, I have to have a well-ordered life because I do a lot and I'm very productive and I can't spend 20 minutes looking for my shoes in the morning. It just doesn't work. So it wasn't like the pendulum had swung too much into an OCD kind of thing. It was more like I was brought up with this conditioning that you act a certain way in this room and you act a certain way in that room, and never the two rooms shall ever meet. So it means two friend groups. You know, I have my work friends and then I have my Vancouver friends. I have my friends who come on the moonlit cruises and the full moon cruises on the boat. And then I have my friends that we go to business workshops with, and then, which is nothing bad. I mean, it's good to have diversity in your life, but not when you're nowhere being your true self, not when no one gets to experience all of you, right? And that's what was happening in my life. Hey, Trisha. Hi, Cheryl. So, so I think I had an epiphany and I decided to merge everything. So at the end of the show, you're actually going to see some real estate tonight. A shameless plug, right? But that's Uranus and Gemini. It's a paradox. It's two things can be true. It's like I said on last week's show, it's, drinking a glass of water until you're thirsty again, right? Drinking too much water actually makes us thirsty. It's a paradox. So putting things in their respective compartments may well order your life and give you energy and potential, but it's also extremely restricting. So things can be abundant and restricting at the same time. And that's what I learned. So I'm taking down the boxes. I'm unboxing myself. If you're a real estate client of mine, welcome to the show. If you are a spiritual client of mine, if you have a real estate need, call me. I guess I'm a spiritual realtor and I'd love to connect with you, whether it's in a sold space or a soul space. So we'll get back to that at the end of the show. I want to show you guys a little video, like a 1-minute video of a house I recently sold, and show you what I mean by soul space and soul space. So back to this beautiful Uranus and Gemini and how this is going to affect us. So for the last 7 years, it's been in Taurus, which is an energy that is earthy and stubborn maybe, and a little bit rigid sometimes. Think of the bull. If it doesn't want to move, no one's moving it. And so while the world has undergone changes, and maybe we've had a lot of change in our life, we still feel the same in a lot of ways. It's like these changes keep happening, but it's more the same. Like on the way over here today, I was listening for 30 seconds to the news. I don't really listen to the news a lot, but just enough to stay on board with what's going on. And they were reporting about the Jeffrey Epstein files and how now the powers that be, I don't know if it's the CIA, FBI, or I don't know who it is, Secret Service, whoever, that now they're saying that there are no files, that is nothing to reveal. And of course, Mr. Trump had part of his campaign was revealing certain things and transparency. So now the consensus, the collective, is up in arms about this. Well, that's exactly the energy. It's like things change, but it's more of the same, right? So that's Taurus energy. That's that Gemini, that's that Uranus and Taurus energy. And that's what we've experienced over the last 7 years. So while maybe things changed in our life and things changed in the world, against the backdrop of a patriarchal society, of a society where, things are very stuck, really is the word I want to use. They don't measure up. And so that's why we don't feel this great change. So now the planet moves into Gemini. It's an air sign. It's refreshing. It's going to move quicker. Uranus is a planet that likes change. Taurus doesn't like change. So for the last 7 years, they were working against each other. Now Uranus and Gemini, Uranus is the planet of awakening, sudden shocking changes. Now in Gemini, it's going to move things. It's movement. It's breath of fresh air. It's things coming into our space and our consciousness that want to move forward. And it's driven by our curiosity. It's driven by the need for order, just like my compartmentalizing my life and putting things in their category in their respective boxes was born out of a need for order, because that's what humans like. Uranus and Gemini doesn't need the order so much. It likes the multiplicity. It likes the duality. It likes the paradoxes. But we will gain order in a Gemini energy by curiosity, by asking questions. The questions we ask, we're asking being motivated by our need for order. Think about it. Something happens. You go to a store, they don't have what you want. You start questioning. Well, can I find it online? Are you getting any in next week? Can I get into another store? Can you order it and send it to my house? Those questions are out of our need to make it right, make it orderful, make it happen. That's Gemini. That's Uranus and Gemini. Uranus and Gemini is independence. It is liberty. It is freedom. It craves excitement. Whereas in Taurus, it didn't. In Taurus, it was like the bull. It just wanted to stand there. So this is a good energy for us. Now, I know historically, like I said on last week's show, and you can play that back on Spotify or any of the places. You can even ask Amazon Alexa, hey, play the latest episode of The Soul Space with Georgia Rose. But Uranus and Gemini, like I was saying on the last show, is all about often a signifier of war, of great change. During the last time that Uranus was in Gemini, we had World War II and the Holocaust and a lot of things. But we also had a lot of innovation and invention. So you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of innovation and invention in the spheres of communication. Uranus being air and fresh and new is also ruled by Mercury, which is the planet of communication. So ask yourself, what am I curious about? What ideas keep coming in and flashing through my brain? Very mental, very mercurial energy. This is brain momentum. It is brain speed. It's connection. It's networking in the highest form. If you're in a business where networking is extremely important for your business, now is the time to get yourself out there and network. That's why I am merging my lives. Now, what's going to happen with Uranus and Gemini is it's going to retrograde back into Taurus for a wee bit of time. So is some other planets going to retrograde back into their signs for a wee bit. And then in 2026, this energy is like full force. So what I will say to you is this. Uranus in Taurus was held against the backdrop of the past, right? The restriction, the conditioning, that doesn't look right compared to what we've always done. Uranus in Gemini is about the future. It's about developing our own sense of what is true and what is not, based on our own inner agency and our own inner power. So the question to ask yourself is, where do I want to be 1 year in the future? Because that's when this energy really comes in huge way. We're getting a glimpse of it now. We're getting the change now. We're getting the arrow pointing like, go here, get off at this exit. So where do you really want to be in the next year? Next time, next July in 2026, when this energy really comes in. It's going to be here for a while, obviously. But when this energy really hooks up with the other planets and we're full force into the new age, right? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Where do you want to live? What do you want to see in your life? What do you envision? And then ask yourself, what are the immediate steps I need to take to make that happen? What can I do that is not disruptive? Because Uranus loves disruption. But let's do this without disruption. Let's be gentle, right? Pray to our angels and our guides. What steps can we take to activate and breathe air and fire, because we've got some fire energy with Neptune and Saturn in Aries, and they're going to retrograde back to Pisces. So take advantage of this sweet spot. What can we breathe air and fire into to make sure that we are embodying and living and embracing the future we want to do? This is about moving it all forward and really doing it. I've been saying for the last couple of years, it's not time to move yet. It's not time to do it yet. It's time to ignite. It's time to really do it. I want to take a minute to talk about this energy in relationship to what I was just talking about with communication and innovation. Uranus and Gemini has brought us things like the hot air balloon, the telegraph, the internet. It's brought us microwaves and, radar. It's really big communication energy. Now we have AI. Friends of mine had a Saturday or Sunday. I don't know. I lost track of the days this weekend. It was like one of those weird holidays. They had a baby. Beautiful little girl. Shout out to Lucy Lane. But I thought when she was born, wow, someone in this earth, and other people too, obviously, but I'm thinking little Lucy will never live in a world without artificial intelligence. And I thought, what is her learning going to look like? What is her classroom going to look like? Are we going to have teachers? Are we going to have avatars? Are we going to have homeschooling based on hitting a button? Like, what is the future of education for this child with AI? What is her consciousness and her mindset going to be like? Where will her curiosity take her? I know I have twin 14-year-old niece and nephew, and their curiosity brings them to TikTok. If they ask you a question and you tell them something that doesn't resonate, they immediately go to TikTok to prove it's right or wrong. So that's where we're at in the world. And I don't know, I think that's a paradox too, because AI can bring us freedom and liberty and excitement and can bring us more curiosity as we engage with it and ask questions, but it also can be very limiting by what it's programmed. Because somebody programmed the AI. Did they know everything? Did they give it the right information? I don't know. How does that work? And as we sail through the next 7 years till 2033 with Uranus and Gemini, what is AI going to look like? Because we are just in a seeding moment of that. I mean, we're talking real like woo-woo out of space stuff. It's going to be awesome. So think about that. And with Saturn and Neptune conjuncting in the sky right now, Saturn is structure and Neptune is dissolving structure. It's going to be what's real and what's not. So one of the things we really have to do is take responsibility for our own agency and what we believe, and filtering and finding our own space that is real and resonates, and where we have our own, little truth stick inside of us, where we can go within and be like, no, that's not right. Or, yeah, that feels right, based on our own intuition and our own way that we process energy and configure ourselves. Because this next 7 years is going to be a tremendous amount of, is it true? Is it not? What's real? What's not? I heard someone on a podcast talk about holograms and how we'll be able to have holograms in our living room and just ask it a question. Well, that's not real. But is it real? It's real, but it's not real. Is it true? Is it not true? Well, the only way we're really going to be able to gain our purchase, our grounding, our feet on Mother Earth, is to have a place we go where those things are configured and evaluated and measured against our own belief system, our own truth. And so what we're going to see in the next 7 years is we're no longer going to measure what's true and what's not true, what's real and what's not real. We're no longer going to measure that against those old paradigms and those old patriarchal systems and those old structures. We're going to measure everything against ourselves and what we really believe and where it resonates and what feels good and what doesn't. And so that's why I had my unboxing. And that's why I put my 2 careers and my 2 lives and my 2 belief systems together. I am a capitalist. I'll be the first one to admit it. I'm the American dream, didn't come from much and was able to build a tremendously beautiful business in my life and have abundance. And I'm also a really grounded, really spiritual. I don't believe in structured education. and certain government structures and things. I believe in community and freedom. But I'm not liberal, and I'm not Democrat, and I'm not Republican. I'm just Georgia. I'm just a soulful person, and I believe in living my life really well used and putting my talents where they bring more love and expand more love in the world. That's really my belief system. So as these years unfold, it's going to be really important for me to stay in that, because there's going to be a lot of influencers and a lot of influence around us. There is now. But I want to be an inspirer. I hope I inspire people to stay in their own soul space and to find that. But I think what's going to happen and what the shift's going to be is we are no longer going to be influenced by those outside forces as much. We're going to be influenced by our inside forces and the connection we have to Creator, God, Buddha, Kuan Yin, the angels, the elementals, aliens, whatever floats your boat. And so I think that what we have to do is really exercise that. It's just like I remember when I had a heart issue years ago, and the doctor said to me, well, your heart is a muscle. You have to exercise it because you want to make it really strong so you don't have problems. Well, that's how the soul works. That's how your connection to divinity and your connection to God and your connection to soul works, is if you want to feel that in your life every day and be mindful and present, you've got to exercise that muscle. So I think that that's what has to happen. And so hopefully this show will inspire people to work on that. And, maybe we'll have a little bit of growth in those areas and expand love in the world. So the other thing about Uranus and Gemini, I'm just going to go through some things so that you can navigate the shift and balance, because this is the shift. This is a movement that's really going to happen in all our lives in some way. I'm going to stop and read the comments before I do that. Cheryl says this is really interesting and scary. It can be scary, but the thing I want to tell you all about fear is, and this is a very emotionally mature thing I'm about to say, but I don't always feel this way, but this is what I try to really evolve to, is we have to have fear. Fear has a very primal reason in our lives. If we didn't have fear, we wouldn't be warned of things that can be detrimental to us. Just like the conversation I was just having with all of you about, influencers and how we are so dictated to by structures in the world. That can be a dangerous thing, right? So if we don't fear that, then we would just go blindly into it. So fear has a purpose in our life. It's a warning system for us to then go into our own agency and our own intuition. So in a way, fear strengthens us, right? There's so many different analogies about fear that we could talk about with that. So it is interesting and scary, true, but it's supposed to be. Tricia says Deepak Chopra is working on developing AI, a hologram, a few years back. Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. That is 2021. That's pretty cool. And 5 years ago. Yeah, that's amazing. I'm sorry, I'm squinting. I can't always see the comments. Yeah. And so fear has its purpose. So a couple of things that can happen in this energy and what we just have to watch out for, not in a scary way, but just so we're aware and don't fall prey, is that sometimes we'll find ourselves overanalyzing. Gemini can be an extremely curious energy. So, put some that, I don't want to say boundaries, but just make sure that your curiosity is healthy and not paranoid, because it can get like that. Remember, this is a shift from gathering information. Sometimes, I literally get mental fatigue if I watch too much media, and I'm I just have to close the computer because I'm completely overloaded now. I don't even know what to do with all this information. There's so much information. What do we do with it all? It's too much. The brain can't compute. So you want to make sure that your curiosity and that shift of gathering information and blah, 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 writing 20 million pages of notes about the show that's only an hour, you want to step out of that and make sure that you're gathering information that deeply resonates with you, brings you somewhere where you're integrating wisdom. Big difference. And that's what the shift's going to be. It's not just going to be an overload. It's going to be balancing the thinking and the intuition, which is really, really nice. So if you find yourself overloading yourself, instead trust your intuition. Go back to intuition. Why did I start looking at this in the first place? What am I really looking for? Where do I need to seek order in order to find that integration of the wisdom? That's kind of what we need to look at. This is also about sometimes the place that we are being called to trust our wisdom has to do with the sign that Gemini is in. Fittingly enough, it's in my 6th house, which is all about work routines. So that's where I'm being called to trust my intuition. You don't have to hide who you are, Georgia. You don't have to be fearful of judgment or criticism, because the people that will align with you and the people that love you understand that this is who you are. And aren't we all talking about diversity? The lower octave of diversity is exclusion. So don't fear being excluded for your beliefs. Don't fear not fitting in. That's the structures we were brought up with and the structures that are out there that we have been molded by. Now is the time to realize I am this beautiful, miraculous creature that God created. I remember one time, this is, going back about 15 years ago, I was in despair. I had had a lot of loss and I was in grief. And I went to see a friend of mine's wife because she was going to do some healing on me. And she was an energetic healer, and I was just coming into those kind of things. And she sat me down and was talking to me about things. And I said to her, sometimes I just have these really dark thoughts and I just feel so terrible about things. And I don't know, some days I don't know how I'm going to get through the day. And I revealed to her at the time that, I did have fleeting thoughts about ending things because I was in very, very deep grief. And she said to me, if you were in a museum of art and you saw a Van Gogh on the wall or a Matisse or a Rembrandt on the wall, would you take a hammer and destroy it? And I said, no, never. And she said, well, then why are you trying to destroy the masterpiece that you are? And in that moment, everything in my life shifted. So that's a Uranian moment. It's the awakening that comes. And of course, my life shifted, but the process of knowing what to do with it after that and starting completely fresh from a place where everything just fell to the floor, that's the Uranus transit. You don't understand it until you're through it. So Sarah has Gemini in the 2nd house and no planets there. If you have no planets in a house, it doesn't mean that house is weak or not really super important in the chart. The 2nd house is really what we're talking about, actually. The 2nd house is traditionally in our charts where we seek self-preservation. It's the complexes that we sometimes run to self-protect. It's also the house of our resources. It can be the house of how we make our money, and how we gain material possession. It can also be the house where we confuse restriction with security. Again, that paradox, right? That Gemini paradox of this is good for me, but it's restricting me. Oh, I'll die without this, but it's really not good for me, So in the 2nd house, in the next 7 years, you may go through things where you've got an issue in your life where something that you felt was your security, a relationship, a job, a structure, a home, something. You're holding on to this thinking, I need this no matter what. This transit will show you and probably dissolve it or take it away, maybe briefly or maybe for permanently, to show you how much it was restricting you. I'll give you an example. When Uranus was transiting an area of my chart in the 2nd house, I decided to completely give up my real estate brokerage firm. I was making money. I had agents. It was great. I had a great location. I had 2 offices that I merged into one big one. I was doing great, but I basically just didn't want to be in the fishbowl anymore. And I was terrified to let it go because I really thought that's who I was, what I had to be. My name was on this big sign and all over town signs, and this is who I was. And it was terrifying for me, but I knew I was going to devote more time to my spiritual career. And so I dissolved the whole thing, literally dissolved, like sold furniture, sold everything, merged it into another company. And as I was doing this, terrified for my life, but knew I had to do it. Knew this was my security, but I was leaping off the cliff. And as soon as I started to do that and physically answer that call to the universe and started dissolving the office and let the administrator go and did all these things and put it all in a nice, neat little bow, the day that I put my final key in the door and locked it up and the place was empty and I had merged into another company with some of my agents. That day, like clockwork, my whole life opened up. Opportunities started coming in. I had all this abundance. I had time on my hands. I took a sabbatical that summer. That was the summer I backpacked all over the island, and I did trail walking, and I did all these things, and I found God and spirit and whatever, even more so that I had him already. And I realized, wow, what I thought was my security was my restriction. That's a second house Uranus transit. So whatever is in your life that you're holding on to, like I always joke around, but I say everything in my life that I ever let go of has claw marks on it, because I don't let go easy. But that's kind of how it was. So yeah. So that's the second house. But it can also take something, if you've already learned that lesson, it can take that, situation or relationship or thing or whatever, it can take that and enhance it even more and bring it to the next level. But I have a feeling, knowing you as I do, Sarah Stack Johnson, that you already know what I'm talking about and you know what has to be done. But don't let fear overrun you, because like I said on the last week's show, Uranus wants to drive your car. Give it the wheel. The more we keep trying to wrench the wheel away from Uranus, it's painful, it's hard. Don't resist him. Uranus really wants to bring you someplace beautiful. So Tricia says, do you have time to do a brief walkthrough of the houses? I can do that. This I know is in, I think, your 7th house. Gemini is, mine is 12th house, which I know is subconscious. Yeah. So I'll go through. So if it's first house, if Uranus is transiting your first house, this is going to be all about your personality, the way you look. I know when Uranus was in my first house, I started working out like crazy and went to yoga every day and started wearing different clothes, got a tattoo, which I won't tell you about. And it's very personal. And my victory tattoo. Maybe someday I'll tell you about it. So, and became literally a different person. Like I was always wearing, I was the BMW sedan driving the car, my blonde bob, and very expensive shoes and suits, and that's who I was, this business persona. And I remember I had a moment once when Uranus was transiting my first house, and I realized what the hell was happening. I was a totally different person. I was actually, this is a funny story, I was actually on the Long Island Expressway in a pair of very low-cut jeans and a rock and roll tank top, and my long blonde hair at that time was flying behind my helmet, and I was in the back of this guy's Harley, and a black BMW with a businesswoman with a blonde bob pulled up next to us. We were doing like 70 miles an hour on the expressway, and I was behind this really cute dude hugging his waist on a Harley, and I looked over and I saw this woman, and I was like, oh my God, that was me. And it was the weirdest shit because, sorry, excuse my language, because I was like, wow, I saw myself on the Long Island Expressway today. I swear to God. I wrote a blog about it. I'll have to find it. But yeah, that's Uranus going through the first. You're going to be totally changed. Uranus in the second, we just went through with Sarah. Uranus in the third is all about communication, siblings. Uranus in the third house, my friend Dee, I believe, is having this transit right now. She's my beautiful friend from South Africa. Yeah, I had her on the show. She had me on her show. That is all about siblings. It's about communication. It's about learning a different way to communicate, maybe in the family way. It's about third house is all about, it could also be like siblings, neighbors, short trips, your short-term life. Like if you commute to work every day, that's going to change. Uranus will shake those things up, but very much about siblings. And also it can be cousins, things like that. Your familial communications will definitely take on some kind of a newness. Fourth house is all home and family, and ancestral. Fourth house is your home within. When you're having Uranus transit in the fourth house, the moon cycles will definitely affect you quite a bit. So watch with the full moons and things, which I have to talk about in a minute because we have a full moon in Capricorn coming in Thursday. So the fourth house will probably make changes in your life, remove things that prevent you from feeling your own home within and your inner landscape. Your fifth house, is all about children. Sex for fun, children, fertility. If you're having your Uranus transit to your fifth house, and you don't want to have a baby, be really careful because a lot of people get pregnant with Uranus over your fifth house. or you'll have a loss of a pregnancy. Don't want to put that out there for anyone. It's just changes in the fifth house energy. It might be children moving in and out of the house. Your kid goes to college or you have a new baby. It could be something like that. A fifth house Uranus transit might bring in a lot of lovers. You're enjoying your sex life. You're getting in touch with your sexuality. It may be a change of gender or a change of how you identify with gender or sexuality. The sixth house, where it is for me, is all about your daily routines, how you work, your actual occupation, not so much vocation, but occupation, your daily routine, your health, your body, your physical body also. It can bring in a lot of health issues. The beginning of Uranus and Taurus in my sixth house did that. My mobility was affected for 2 years. Now I'm fine with that. In the seventh house, it's all about relationships. It's not uncommon when you have Uranus going through your seventh house for relationships to come in and out of your life. Loss and gain, short-term relationships. A relationship that's long-term maybe will seem like a new relationship, or it will dissolve. If the relationship is good for you and is inspiring to you and enhancing love and your soul purpose in your life, it will absolutely be enhanced. If it is an energy that is from the past that you feel restrictive or repeats, repeats energy from the past relationships that's not good for you, it will probably dissolve. Eighth house is all about other people's money and also your soul space, your transformation as far as your, dogma, your religious beliefs. You're not in the sense of like church structured religion, but in the sense of like the soulfulness, like transforming your soul, like what your soul came here to do. That's the eighth house. So you're going to have some very deep changes that affect what you do, your cosmology in that sense. The ninth house is education, higher education. And also with the Uranus transit there, it's going to be travel. You may meet someone from a foreign country that's very influential, a relationship possibly, a business partner. You may go to a foreign country and have a really important experience. It is about all things Sagittarian, the higher mind. It is about painting with a really big brush, seeing the really big picture, the future. The 10th house is your conditioning will change. You are going to break free from your ancestral karma. You're going to break free from the conditioning that your family put on you, the right and the wrongs, the restrictions, the you shouldas, you wouldas, you couldas. Your persona as it appears in the external world, the outside world, who you are, like your personality, out there, how you are seen, like typically speaking, if you are a political person or a leader of a country or something, when you have a Uranus going over the 10th house, that will change the way people see you out in the world changes. What they believe you are and what they think of you. That could be a good thing or a bad thing, right? I am a 10th house sun. So that is why, for me, it's time to shine my light and let people see the real me, right? So the 11th house is all about groups of people and your hopes and dreams and wishes. This is a time when Uranus will let things fall away and change things and bring you into awarenesses so that you can join new groups, be accepted by groups, and really get in touch with your individualism. It is about how you are in groups and what groups can really enhance your life and what groups have been restricting you. And then, of course, the 12th house, like Trisha mentioned, is your subconscious. It is about, what your soul journey really is. 12th house transits are very difficult in the sense that they're very deep. This isn't about, I'm going to buy a new car. This is about, wow, I always wanted to, go stay at a hostel in the Himalayas, and it's time I quit my job and do it. So that's really what it's about. So I see Tess says the word combining. Yeah, combining. Integration is really, the thing. Gemini energy, Uranus, and in Gemini, it wants to bring us the duplicity, the multiplicity, so that through our curiosity, we integrate it all and we relax into it and we allow that wisdom to be integrated into diversity and realizing like not everything has to be a certain way. The suit doesn't have to be navy and pinstriped. It can be the purple dinosaur, all things considered. But I think we're definitely going to drop down into our energy of living from our own purpose and living from our own soul purpose. So I'm so glad we have the soul space to talk about all of this. So the other thing I was going to say is that we have this full moon coming in Thursday in Capricorn. And the full moon in Capricorn normally would be an energy of discipline and structure. But because we have this energy in Gemini and communication, Capricorn can sometimes be the ego mind as well. So what I'm going to say to you is the next couple of days, just watch your communication and really listen to people, because the ego can come through. So if you're a real talker, or if you like to jump on people, or just mind that in the next couple of days while this full moon comes in. Because normally in a Capricorn full moon, we have a lot of discipline and structure, and it's a full moon that makes us want to strategize, kind of, like, what's the strategy? That's Capricorn, they climb. But the really high octave of Capricorn is not just to climb the mountain, it's to get to the top and then look down and survey what we've seen, and look down, from that eagle perch and be like, I'm seeing things I never saw before. That's Capricorn energy. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to ascend in order to see everything, in order to take it in, from these purchases. It's the mountain goat. If you ever look at the mountain goat, it climbs a few steps and then it rests and looks down, and it just stands there and takes in the scenery and processes it for more wisdom. That's the Capricorn full moon. So with all the energy we also have in Cancer, we've got the sun in Cancer and we've got Jupiter in Cancer, expanding that Cancer energy, which is our heart, and it's a touchy-feely. It's ruled by the moon. So with a Capricorn full moon and those energies in Cancer opposing it, what happens in this discipline, structure, Capricornian energy is we go within. And I think we're going to feel a little more soulful and a little bit more able to really get in touch with our internal landscape. And coming out of that with some structure where Saturn gives us the energy to really put things into form that maybe in the past we've only thought about, or they've only been ethereal. Now in this Capricorn full moon, which is Thursday the 10th, I think that especially if you're having talks with someone or you're communicating, things get real. We have all this Gemini energy of what's real, what's not real. But I think this Capricorn full moon will ground us into seeing our truth and allowing the bravery to expose that inner landscape and be a little vulnerable and not go into our shell so much. Just be really careful when you're having those conversations that it is very Gemini in the sense of on, off, listen, talk. Gemini is that duality that in its highest form is compatible. And so we want to give the other person a chance to speak and make sure that we're having conversation with others who allow us the space to speak and to be who we are and to come into that space, not just waiting to reply and get our 2 cents in, but really deeply listening to the other. That's going to be the energy of this Cap full moon. So it's a great night to, grab your honey and go watch the moon, and to have that talk, or maybe, cook a nice meal together and ground into what's really, truly just sensuous in the sense of our 5 senses, and feel groundedness in that, and allow things to come forward freely and organically. Really a beautiful time for that, I think, with the Cancer and the Capricorn. That's my interpretation anyway. So again, the prompts for this energy are going to be, where do I want to be a year from now? What does my future really look like? And what steps do I need to take to gain access to actually be able to envision and feel and touch and taste and make reality where I want to be in a year? And what kind of immediate steps can I take without disrupting my life, so that I'm doing this in a gentle way that's most positive for me? So when I asked that, it was all about me integrating my life, my business life, with what I do for my earthbound life, which I love because I've always used my real estate career to serve my community. I've always used my real estate career to really sincerely and truly help people. And I've loved every minute of that. And I will continue to do that through the ages until I absolutely can't physically do it anymore. But now this soul space is now in the balance to be just as important as those things. And I love spending time with you. And I'm going to, in integrating my life, let you guys know where to find me. You can always message me on any of my Facebook sites. If you're interested in my real estate, you can just look me up as Georgia Westcott. But I'm going to close the show with a little video of a home I recently sold, because one of the things that I'm combining and integrating with my sold spaces is being soulful. And so I love that I get to sell people a place for their soul and their soul space. I think your home should be that. I think your home should be your sanctuary and your place that at the end of the day, you can really come home to your own soul space. And so this house in particular that I recently sold in Babylon Village, Long Island, was very old. It was built quite a long time ago. And the house had such beautiful features. Maybe they weren't like, I don't know, cookie cutter like the norm, but neither of my readings or anything that I do is never cookie cutter. It's always completely personalized for you. And this house was so personalized and it was so beautiful that this young couple got it. And the bonus was the day they moved in, the following day, she gave birth. So it's just a beautiful place for them to raise their family. So if you're looking for your soul space and sold space, please do call me. And this was my most recent sale at 139 Prospect Street in Babylon Village, the house known as Deary.